Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin, sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing athletic training equipment since 1932, helping you dominate with fundamentals.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton. We have two special guests today, and hopefully by the end of the video, you can be able to tell them apart. But we got the Baggetts on today. Great dudes, coming up as a GA at York. Learned a lot under them as a young coach, and we're excited to pick their brains tonight. And before we get going, I want to shout out to our sponsor, Team Builder, #1 strength and conditioning software for strength coaches.
All right, guys. Yeah, we're excited to have Knox and Grady Baggett. When I was coming up through the coaching world, I guess it was the early teens, one of my dad's friends was Coach Bobby Carroll, and he was a head coach at York High School, York Comprehensive. And I remember Coach Carroll talking about these genius twin brothers that like coached on his staff and coached for him. I'm like, oh man, that'd be cool to one day kind of meet those guys. And lo and behold, a few years later, I was on staff with you guys, and he was right, man. You guys are very, very smart. You're good at what you do. I've learned a ton from you, not just with X's and O's, but definitely how to, go through and try to manage like your summer protocol, your spring protocol, how you install all those things. And so we're going to really get into that today. We're going to kind of talk to you guys, catch up a little bit, see where you guys are and how your careers are going. And then talk a little bit about, coaching together and how that's worked for you guys as brothers and living beside each other, it seems, all the time. And then talk a little bit about summer and then hit some rapid fire at the end. So that's what we got in store today. So guys, we appreciate you guys being on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Dustin, Jamie. Thanks for having us. Really enjoyed listening. Really think it's great what you guys are doing. I think I've listened to pretty much every episode so far and have enjoyed every one of them. So thanks again for having us.
Knox, we're going to need you to turn your screen, dude. you're like,
there you go.
We'll cut that out, but yeah.
Sorry.
All good, man. All good. All right, man. So obviously coaching with you guys, I know you guys pretty well. But what was it like? Just kind of, I don't really know a whole lot about this, but how was it like growing up together? Were you guys like rivals? Were you like best buddies? How does that all happen? I know you guys are, living close to each other and coaching the same staff. Talk to us about, kind of growing up as twin brothers.
Well, I mean, we obviously grew up around sports, playing football, baseball, got into wrestling, did a little rec basketball for a little while. I wouldn't really say we weren't really rivals. I mean, we played, obviously with football, we played different positions, on the line and things like that. Different positions like in baseball. There were some times, I guess, growing up with rec baseball, like if Grady was the pitcher, I would be the catcher, because a lot of times, with rec ball, right, like not everybody can catch and actually throw the ball and stuff like that. So we would do that. So like if he would, like I said, if he was the pitcher, I'd be the catcher. Then we'd switch. We were always on the same teams growing up. Now wrestling, in high school we wrestled, and I'll give Grady credit. Grady was a better wrestler than I was, but we always had a little bit of like weight discrepancy between us. So I've always been a little bit bigger. He was a little bit smaller. So like with wrestling, that was good because we were in different weight classes until our senior year, when we kind of both got over that 215 threshold, started getting, 230, 240, 250, stuff like that. It's kind of like, okay, well now I guess we're both going to be heavyweight. And, but I got injured my senior year, which actually kind of opened up more opportunity for Grady with wrestling and all the tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think, we could argue and kind of fight like any siblings would do, but, at the end of the day, we knew when to draw the line and when to stop. But it was good. It's kind of unique because it was just me and Knox growing up. We're the only only kids that our parents had. So I guess I just didn't know any different. This is all we knew. So
Well, just watching you guys work together, obviously some funny moments. You can kind of
Mhm.
see some of that that coming out on the sidelines a little bit. But as youngsters, was there anything like even in college, because you guys played offensive line in college together, right, at Bethel? So was there any like defining moments that like you guys really remember, like as being together, like accomplishments, as brothers?
I mean, I would say, playing career in college was, we were blessed and to um, be able to go to a place that wanted us and play for coaches that wanted us to be there. And we both met. I know met my wife there, and Knox met Cheryl there, and going to Bethel really was a blessing. That we maybe couldn't have seen at the start, but it was good. I mean, it was a blessing to be there. And in terms of just moment, I mean, I can remember. I really think what I remember the most is more like the practices, the workouts. There's a few game moments, right? Um, Kind of some big wins, and it was when we got to Bethel. It was, I would describe it as, it was kind of a slow build. We had a lot of new folks when we were freshmen, and we struggled a little bit, but then for the next 3 years, we just kind of got better and better and better, and kind of ended up being a a top 10 team in the country, which was fun, right? A lot of the fun is in the winning, but
Mhm.
you also have to kind of find joy in the other stuff, right? 6 a.m. workouts, try to find joy in the practice. And so I remember those things, and a lot of moments with teammates, right? I think that's what I probably miss the most, is just little moments with teammates as opposed to one defining moment.
Mm.
Oh, I'd agree with what Grady said. Um, as far as like a defining moment, just seeing you know, a few years there, a couple years of really hard work. The 6 a.m. workouts. Hey, there are no classes at 6 a.m. The 6 o'clock workouts, doing stuff in the summer, and then just seeing all that, seeing the work kind of pay off over time. As well as relationships with teammates, with coaches. Um, I mean, and there was, it wasn't easy, right? But a lot of times the stuff that's the most difficult ends up being kind of the most rewarding.
Mm. Yeah, it's like when you suffer together, it has more meaning. And I know, you guys growing up together, that probably created a even stronger bond than you probably already had, being able to play together. Did you guys, when you guys got into coaching, was that something that you always thought that you would coach together, or was that more of just kind of happened because you know it just kind of worked out that way?
I would say it wasn't necessarily a goal. I mean, it just has kind of worked out that way. The first coaching job, uh, kind of a fun story. We graduated from Bethel and came back home. For it wasn't really too long. And I know for me personally, I had kind of decided, I figured out in college that like I wanted to coach, right? Like we grew up, had good high school coaches, right? Really enjoyed them. Tried to take, you learn some good, and maybe you learn some things maybe that aren't so good from everybody, right? You take something from each person that influences you. Um, but I know for me in college, I guess it was when I really decided, hey, I think coaching is what I want to do. I saw the impact that like my college coaches and my high school coaches had, but it just seemed like my college coaches had so much fun. Like they were always having, it seemed like they were having a good time coaching. Now, whether that was true or not, it probably wasn't all the time, but the influence that they had kind of made me think, man, this is really cool. This is what I want to do. And so circling back, kind of was at home and just was sending blind emails, hey, I've just graduated. I'd like to GA, do you have anything? And Alcorn State put something on Football Scoop and sent a resume, sent it, to the email. And a couple of days later, got a call from the coach that was new, and asked if we wanted to come be GAs at Alcorn State. And so we packed up the red truck. You remember the red truck?
Oh yeah, you still got it?
Still got it.
Still
Knox
got
The
it.
does.
bench seat. You got the whole family in there. Dude, I remember those. I remember those days.
So packed up the red truck and went to Mississippi as a GA. And so it wasn't necessarily the plan, but it just kind of happened. And learned a lot there, and then got into high school after that. So
No, that's awesome. The red truck, man. The red truck. That's
Still
it.
going, still driving, still
Some
driving.
love it. That
1995 Ford F-150,
if you can find a
Can't kill it.
vehicle these
Can't kill
days like that, you're
ice
doing
cold
good.
AC.
Love that. So, some people will say twin telepathy is a thing. Would you say it is while you're coaching together or game planning? Do you feel that y'all typically agree more or agree less, or maybe have the same play call at a lot of the times? Like, tell us a little bit about how that is coaching together, growing up together. How does that affect your thinking in the game?
Well, I would
Josh,
say,
you want to go?
yeah, I got it. I mean, growing up together, I mean, we've always kind of been, we always did the same stuff, right? Like if it was football season, we were playing football, right? It was never like, okay, well, I'm going to play fall baseball, but Grady's going to play football, right? Like we were always doing in the same activities, the same sports. So I guess as a coach, we played, well, as players, we played the same position in football. So we've always kind of, I guess, seen the game the same way, and we've kind of learned from, the same systems and the same coaches. So, I would say that we definitely kind of are on the same page with, kind of what we're thinking on offense or defense, special teams. I know Grady's kind of taken more of a special teams interest maybe than maybe I have, but we've generally been on the same page with things. Now we do argue at times, I mean we don't always agree, and
Oh yeah.
hey, great job, but like I say, I mean there's never really we kind of know where the line is, and we don't push it too far.
Yeah, I've seen you guys firsthand go through that, and that's really one thing when I started coaching with you guys was I was able to kind of sit back and watch coaches probably coach at the highest level that I'd seen at that point. And I'm not just saying that like I was a young guy. I was in my 20s. I mean, y'all aren't even much older than I am, but I felt like you were so much more experienced than I was, and I felt like you were always both of you more methodical in your thinking, and you like behaved a little bit more mature than maybe your age. And I always looked up to you guys for that. But then when you get on the field, you guys absolutely got after it. And I remember Grady out there, you know, shimmy, balance, all that, all that stuff, screaming at the kids about like
Come to
that.
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, shimmy fit or
Inside
whatever
and
it
in
was.
front.
Yes, and so just watching you guys coach, man, I really enjoyed watching you guys and then watching you guys interact too, because you would have these like little tiffs, but then you'd be like best friends in like 3 minutes. And it was just really interesting. And that's how it should be, not just with brothers, but with just coaches anyway. And I always kind of try to approach that now. I don't have a twin brother, but like me and Dustin got into it the other day in the office about like inside zone, like, but then like 2 minutes later, we're totally fine. But
Yeah.
but it just kind of reminded me of that moment a little bit with you guys. But do you guys so right now, Knox, are you what is your current role now at Goose Creek.
So I currently I coach quarterbacks and offensive coordinator, and Grady does
That's right. You
receiver.
did that at York. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
So basically the same dynamic at
right,
that you guys were at York. So that's cool, man.
right,
And do y'all
right.
step on it like when you're out there? Like with your roles, Grady, and like how does the game planning work? Do y'all typically see like, or how do y'all kind of break down your roles throughout the week? I mean, do y'all work together a lot, or do you kind of separate yourselves and then come together with ideas, or you watch it together? How do y'all typically do that?
I mean, we kind of watch some separate, and then come together. Very similar to how we did at the time at York.
Mhm.
We got some other good, we work with some good coaches here at Goose Creek, right? Some experienced coaches. There's a lot of ideas, and we kind of feel like, I know me personally, I think that there's like everybody has something they can contribute, so I think that that's important. And you know, I guess specifically, we kind of are more separate, and then kind of come together, and then everybody kind of has an opportunity to provide whatever input they'd like to, and we kind of go from there. I think, I don't know if Knox would feel the same way, but I think sometimes I've the part of the role that I can play in this, I guess, just our relationship growing up at times is like sometimes I know I just don't say anything, but then there's other times where I can see something and I just, hey, call it, right? Hey, do this now, right? And I think, I think that, Jamie, you as a play caller, and Dustin, you as a defensive play caller on offense, or even as a head coach, I think sometimes, you don't necessarily have to have like you don't have to know the reason right now. Like I don't need an essay of why this is going to work or why it should work. I think sometimes you just, hey, call it, right? Do this. And I do think that that's probably a little easier for me telling or saying that to Knox because of our relationship, maybe than, if we hadn't grown up with each other. But
Yeah, I think what you're
you know,
saying is 100% right. Like I'll never forget me and Caleb. We were coaching at Christ School, and it's like 4th and 2, 33 seconds before the half, and we don't have a timeout. And I'm like, what do you think we should do? He said, I got the call. Just call, I'm going with this. All right, go for it, brother. Like, I'm here if you need me. Like, but you're the OC, and even with Bolton, like that year in 2018 where I was the box coach, we kind of developed that relationship you're talking about.
Mhm.
Hey, if you want it, you need to run this now. And it was
Yep.
like
I would
he
just go with it.
fully
Yeah.
trusted it,
Hmm.
and same thing. And there would be times, hey, you got this, I like this. And he'd call the play he needed. And it's like that's where you can't have an ego. Like you all want to win. You're all going through the process together. That's big. Something I guess I want to know, it's been, I think 2017 was the last time we were all four together coaching. So, I mean, we're going on 8 years now, 9 years, something like that.
Crazy.
What,
doesn't seem like that
it
long.
doesn't, it doesn't,
Long
it
time.
really doesn't. Um, the biggest thing I told Bolton when we were talking about getting y'all on, I said, man, I want to know, like, what are some things that y'all have learned from the time we were together to now? And it may be things that used to think was a really big deal, and it's like it really isn't as big as I thought it used to be, and maybe vice versa. Just I'd like to hear from both of you, just some thoughts on what have you learned since we've been together that maybe you do a little bit different than when we were together, and yeah, and we'll see where it goes. This could last a while. I mean, there's a lot, I'm sure.
One thing I guess that I've learned is, how important it is to surround yourself with as many good people as you can. With people that are people willing to learn, and willing to be on board with whatever scheme you want to do on offense, defense, special teams. Right? I mean, there's teams win state championships running the wing tee. Teams win state championships with 5 receivers, right, and everything in between. So there's a lot of different ways to score points, a lot of different ways to stop people on defense. right? But I think having people around you that are fully invested and bought into the scheme that you're trying to do, that are willing to coach whatever the details are of the scheme that you're trying to do. I think that's, the more that, I guess, as time has passed, I feel like that's gotten more and more. I think it's probably always been important, but I'm maybe just now realizing it and appreciating it. Just like I say, the need to have people that are bought into whatever system or scheme that you're trying to do, right? Because every scheme has got certain drills and different ways to teach whatever the fundamentals are of your scheme, right? And the scheme won't work as well as it should if those fundamentals and details aren't taught. So it's important to have coaches on board with whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think I would definitely echo that. I think I think back to I think back to like our time together at York, right? And really kind of how impactful it was, in a lot of different ways, right? There were a lot of really good people there. And there were a lot of really good coaches, Coach Carroll, you know, being the head coach at the time and that we worked for and worked with. And, uh, you know, I think the further you get away from that, um, you know, there's a lot of things that he was right about. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that stand the test of time. Um, and we've worked for some really good head coaches, and like we said, you take positives and you take some negatives from everybody, um, and you try to do the best you can where you're at that time. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I would think. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and
Yeah, the scheme one's important. I think and that's just total buy-in anyway. And we were kind of joking with Spencer Carroll last time talking about the program. I'm going to start saying program, not program, but the program. But it is about buy-in and getting the right people to buy into that is extremely important, especially early. Like or if you're a rebuild, or if you are maybe it just, but all that does matter. I mean, if you're trying to do, like, they don't know. I remember you guys teaching me like straight line pad level or single stick release or diamond release, like how that all just incorporates into avoiding collision, or it's just little things like that. How to run particular routes. You can't have, you know, some kind of wide receiver guru on the side if they're not really teaching what helps your scheme go. So that makes a ton of sense, man. Like,
yeah.
it's like, I'm sure it's the same with all the other ones, like wing T and triple option and all that stuff. So yeah, Dustin, what were you gonna say?
Well, it's like definitely the alignment piece, being aligned, and I remember early on when I came to York that very first year in 2015 or 16, like I'd never heard of vertical set pass pro. Like, man, I was traditional combo, man side, gap side. And, we get there and Joey Moore's the OL coach and we do the in-house clinic and we go out and he's talking about getting back as fast as you can for 4 to 5 sets. And I'm like, what? I've never heard of it. You know what I mean? Like I've always known H-back. So like it was funny because when we brought Dearman in, everything he was talking about, I was familiar with. So it was like, oh, we don't set the back. No, it's based on the assignment. And it was like, so it was opposite for me when I got to York. But like, to your point, it was like, I need to deep dive in all of this and learn it because we're coaching the younger levels and they need to know all the specifics, all the techniques by the time they get to y'all. And we really took pride in that. Me and Spencer wanted the JV at the time to be a direct depiction of what y'all were doing at the varsity level. And that was really fun to do.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, I think y'all did a great job. I mean, it comes up more frequently than maybe you would think about how, the alignment that was there. And then, I think one of the coolest things that maybe, Big C did while we were there was the time we had, the same offensive coaches coach the JVs in the ninth grade, and then the defensive coaches coach the JV in the ninth grade.
Yes,
Right.
that was
I think
awesome.
that, yeah, I mean, it cut out, it kind of made the coaching more concise, probably, right? It cut out a layer of, it cut
Interpretation.
out a layer to filter through to the player interpretation of the players. Yeah.
The crazy part was we would show up
I thought that was really good. Go
like
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. The crazy part was we'd show up at Nation Ford and we'd be coaching 2 games back to back. So we'd coach the freshman game, then we'd get in the JV game, and I'm telling Spencer, hey, run this play. And he goes to call it. He's like, wait a minute, that's not in this game plan. That's in the ninth grade game plan. I'm like, oh, well, don't call that play because the kids probably don't know what to do. But
Yeah.
I agree that 10-man staff, 5 defense, 5 offense, and literally we coached offense for 2 hours and 10 minutes every day.
Yeah.
That was really fun. But Grady, you also said something I wanted to hit on. They always say, don't judge a man's decision until you're in his shoes. And kind of that's what I took when you were saying what you were saying. There's been times throughout my career as a young buck at 19 years old to even now when I'm 30, where there may be a leader or someone above me that makes a decision that I don't necessarily agree with or see the reasoning behind. But over the years, there's decisions that have been made in the past that I see more and more reason on why now. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point for our listeners.
A great staff. Great staff.
Shout out to Team Builder. So coaches, we've seen firsthand how important organized workouts are. That's why we trust Team Builder. It's a platform that takes the guesswork out of strength conditioning. If you're a coach at the high school level or running a full athletic program, they give you the tools to earn what you need. Don't just train smarter. Click the link in our show notes for a free 30-day trial using the promo code CoachSpeak.
All right, man. So let's get into our first real segment here. I want to kind of get your take on your kind of updated summer install. Like, how do you guys do it now? I know it's been almost a decade since we've coached together. But what is like one thing you kind of stopped doing in the summer that you used to do? Let's just talk a little bit about like kind of your summer structure.
So, we with spring practice, right? Spring practice is May, and then we took a few days off there around Memorial Day. So like summer for us, just I started this past Monday, and really like the first time we went out there this a few days ago on Monday, it was really just a lot of trying to review and see how much the kids remembered from what we were doing during the spring. Um, I guess overall, I think the comprehension was pretty good. We're doing obviously doing some 7-on-7 stuff, so we're spending maybe a little bit more time kind of working on passing and trying to get that together because that's kind of a, for better or worse, that's kind of a focus and an emphasis during the summer. But we've also gotten into kind of the 11-on-11 stuff that a lot of teams are doing. So that gives us an opportunity to kind of go back over our runs and complementary plays off the runs. So it's kind of, I guess you kind of take both pieces, right? The 11-on-11, no pads, and then 7-on-7, and you kind of, with each part, you're kind of building and trying to just get ready for that first game as much as we can. I don't know. I guess maybe over the years, I kind of, maybe we don't do quite as much for 7-on-7 as maybe what we used to do, because I think sometimes it can get us into bad habits. Very rarely will your quarterback just stand on his spot and nobody's, he has a perfect pocket to throw from, and we can run all the triple move routes and stuff like that, right? So you can get into some bad habits, right? But it is good, especially if you've got some young players. You kind of teach them the routes against different looks. Whatever concepts we're doing with the quarterback, you're trying to teach him what to do and maybe get to that second, third read, fourth read, maybe. So like I say, it's just kind of a piece of the puzzle as you start building towards the season.
Yeah, coach. So when you're talking about, your 7-on-7, how do you kind of balance that between like winning 7-on-7s, but also kind of preparing your guys for, winning when it counts?
I'll take. I mean, I think I think you never want to get used to losing, right? So
Mhm.
I think like if we're out there, we're trying to win, you know. But I do think that there is a fine line between that as well as nobody really cares if you won 7-on-7 in June, right? So the end goal is preparing, right, for the season when it matters. So I do think that there's parts of it that are valuable. There's some parts of it that I'm sure we all don't really particularly care for. But I think that trying to strike that balance is sometimes maybe not as easy as it seems like it should be. But we do try to toe that line and strike that balance between, like, yes, we want to win if we're out here, but we're also sometimes just trying to work on this concept or this particular type of play. So
I would,
Yeah, and
I
I
And
would,
I
think
imagine that's probably year to year.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, like I say, you want to try to, you're always trying to be successful, but I think you can kind of maybe define success differently. Like if you've got, let's say you got a young team, a young group, well, maybe, success might be measured in saying, okay, did my receiver run the route the way that I've been coaching them to do it for the last week or two? Right? Are they improving in their decision making? Right? If I got my quarterback and I'm trying to teach him a concept, right? Did he, all right, okay, cool, right? If you throw the first read, right? But can he maybe get to the second read, the third read, the fourth read if you got one? Can you see him kind of progress through a concept at the appropriate time? Like even if the pass isn't complete and you don't score a touchdown every time, right? Was he moving in the right direction? Was he thinking through uh, the way that you try to coach him to do it? And I think as long as you're kind of doing those things, then generally eventually the success will show up. And I think it's hard too. I mean, with the 7-on-7 stuff is, you know, trying not to do a bunch of stuff that maybe you're really not going to do during the season, but really trying to, not run coverages and stuff that you won't run all year, but you're running it just for 7-on-7. Okay, if you're in the championship game, okay, cool, man. Let's take all the linebackers off the field, put as many corners in as you can, and play 2-man and try to win, right? But you know, you're trying to just get better and hopefully prepare your team for what they're actually going to do in real football, and maybe compete a little bit along the way.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you just need that Missouri T spark to get your team going. 3 incompletions, and all right, guys, next time we got there, we're going to run mirrored smash and send the running back down a gap down the middle. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes you just, and then that spark turns the rest of the day around. I mean,
No, man, I like when you set up a 7-on-7 and they come and they're an odd team
drop
and then they
8.
drop 8 and you're like, hold on, man. What are we doing here?
Well,
Are
Jamie,
we
Jamie,
bringing a
that's
guy and
that's
taking a
when you
knee or what?
when you do your
Oh,
when you do the point after the touchdown, you do the shovel pass right over the guard.
exactly.
That
Yes. The
that's when
shallow
that's when you
route in the
that's when you do
backfield.
that one. Yeah.
Yes. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to balance that. I mean, I think our kids now are so outcome driven. They're all outcome based. Like they want, the outcome is everything. And I think that stems from, one, social media and all that stuff. But I think you made a good point, Knox, with like you have to set the mindset of like what success is. And for us today, we need to go and like we have a 7-on-7 tomorrow with another school and like we need to define like what a successful day looks like. Like we need to execute our plays versus another opponent. maybe a different coverage we haven't seen? Are we doing what we're coached to do? Are we going through progressions? Are we alignment, assignment technique, and all that stuff? And I think when you go to a tournament, you try to win the thing if you can, because I think kids appreciate that. And I think that's why you enter tournaments. I'm not even a tournament fan. But if you do go, you probably do want to perform well. Your kids are not
Yeah.
going to feel very good about it. But
Well, I think even defining success for your coaches, like having your coaches on the same page. Like, listen, guys, it ain't about going and just throwing a touchdown every play. Like, let's get better at route running today. Like, let's make sure our every concept, our splits are exactly what they need to be. Let's make sure the right guys are on or the right guys are off. I think because a lot of times, I mean, coaches, we're just as competitive, man. And it's like, man, we didn't throw but 4 touchdowns today. Yeah, but did we get better? Like, was it a successful day? I think that's important.
well, how about this one? They let a receiver go like wide open over the middle of the field, and we barely overthrow him. It's tipped off his hands, and like the safety 20 yards deep makes a pick, and then all the coaches are like chest bumping the kid and like celebrating a play that really they blew the coverage. Like that. That would be frustrating. Like if I'm on that team, I'm like, man, that's really like, like what are we celebrating here? Yeah, it's a great outcome. But really, if it's a better throw, it's probably a touchdown. So it's just having a mindset of that. And
Right.
coaches get caught up just like the players do, if not more. If not more, we've seen that over and over. But yeah, man.
Definitely agree.
All right. So
Definitely
as we
agree.
kind of go through the summer, what do you like to see installed in terms of like a percentage of your overall menu that you're going to bring in like to this season before you get to fall camp? What percentage of your stuff do you want to have installed?
Well, I would think that you want to try to have probably at least your base run plays, whatever you think your identity is going to be. I think that's important. I mean, I know I struggle with this sometimes. Like with you get scrolling on X and you see all these different schemes and things, and man, like this play looks awesome, right? This is going to be a touchdown every time, and you see all these different tweaks and things that are out there, right? Because there's so much access to information, But then I think the hard part at times is kind of like tempering that and saying, okay, well, what can this team this year do, right? Like, can they do this? Can they do what I saw the San Francisco 49ers do? Maybe they can with a lot of practice, but if I spend time trying to do what the 49ers did, am I missing the boat on maybe something that they could get better at quicker? But I think having an identity is important. Of what do you want to be, right? If you want to be a wing T team, then you got to install you got to make sure you got the identity of being that, right? Whatever those plays are, right? If you want to be a 5 wide team, throw it every play, then that's what you got to be working on. So, I think you want to have your base run plays installed, and you want to have maybe have your drills taught. Have whatever your everyday type drills are going to be for whatever scheme you're running. You want to make sure you're teaching those in the summer, and your kids are getting better doing those fundamentals. I just think it's more about focusing on your team as opposed to trying to scheme or game plan something for another team in the summer and early in the season.
I would agree with Knox there on that, and I think too, and Dustin and Jamie, I know that y'all have hit on it in a couple other episodes, is trying to figure out, kind of who are the players that you have, right? Who are the players that you have, and then you try to figure out what can they do, right? And then you try to build what you want to install kind of around what you have. And I think anytime you do that, you have a chance to kind of end up being somewhat successful, right? And I think that's always important, is figuring out who do you have, what can they do, what do they do good, what do they do what do they need to work on, and then build it around that. And I think if you do that, no matter what your scheme is, you can be successful with it.
Yeah. What is your current summer schedule? Y'all like Monday through Thursday? Do y'all lift 3 times practice, a full practice? Like what tell us a little bit about what your current summer schedule is, and then well, I kind of want to know like what is y'all's routine from an offensive standpoint? Like, I know some guys like working like run game wise, zone stuff on Mondays, gap stuff on Tuesdays, all combined on Thursdays. So just what is kind of y'all's summer weekly schedule, and then kind of how do y'all like breaking down the offensive part of it?
I'll you just kind of the macro view. We're right now we're kind of Monday through Thursday. Lift, run. We're in the morning right now from 8:30 to, we got done. It's around 11. But that includes everything in the weight room, conditioning, practice, all that stuff. And a lot of Fridays. We've got some 7-on-7 stuff coming up, especially in June. And we normally end up having several more of those kind of in July, and then some 11-on-11, work with some other local teams here and there. But as far as kind of installing it, Knox, you want to hit on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just, it's really just, it's a continuation of kind of what we were doing in the spring. You kind of, I mean, we've done, okay, yeah, like this day is a zone day. Like you said, Dustin, Tuesday maybe is a gap day. Maybe Wednesday you work on your pass protection. Maybe Thursday you do screens. Like you generally, you've kind of you've got some time, where you don't have the pressure of like, hey, we have to prepare for another opponent, right? So you can, you really can kind of focus on, just really break it down into really kind of that micro level of, okay, well, maybe we're going to work our power to the right today, right? And all we're going to do is just do power to the right, because there's a lot of things that I know, and this is probably, I guess, one thing that I've learned, or the older I've gotten, is, there's a lot of things that maybe we take for granted, or we used to take for granted, like as we've gotten more experienced as coaches, all four of us, we've there's probably some football that we've forgotten, right? But the kids that we're coaching each year, right? Like it's always kind of new to them, right? So it's easy to take things for granted, like, hey, you tell your linebacker or safety, hey, you got to get to the hook curl or the curl flat, whatever you call it. Well, they may not know where that is, right? Like my ninth grade right guard, he doesn't really know what a 3 technique is, right? He doesn't know what a 5 technique is. So, I think really taking time during the summer to really try to like break down your plays and really teach the details of them, and details of stuff that maybe you kind of like skip over, or you don't have as much time during the season to actually make sure you're hitting all the details.
Yeah, I know one thing we definitely did in the spring, because y'all know in the spring, especially when you don't have shells on, it's like if you're practicing for an hour and 50 minutes, oh, we'll have an hour and 40 minutes of Indy. So I know when I would go with them for a little bit, we would break down a play. So we'd say, hey, let's just GT counter. We'd break down the play. So you typically have a back block, you have a play side double team, you have a flat pull and a wrap pull. And we would have 4 stations because we're fortunate to have enough linemen to do that, or coaches to do that. And literally we'd rotate them, and everybody'd have to learn every single one. Everybody had to learn how to do a back block. Everybody had to learn how to do a flat pull. Everybody had to learn how to do a wrap pull. And like you said, there's just so much time. And there's some of them who may not ever do a flat pull, but y'all know as well as I do, depth, injuries, at least they know, and they know the technique. So that was one thing we did in the spring a little bit. And I think it can even carry over in the summer, like pass pro wise, like if we do man side and gap side, We split them all up, and they work both, but it allows a lot of coaches to coach versus one group with a lot of coaches just kind of standing there. So I really like
I
that.
like that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, we've done something similar with the passing game too. Like we've tried to do like
Yeah.
half line installs. So like every receiver knows like all the routes instead of just saying, hey, we're gonna split it and go like routes on air. We've done like half line routes on air. It's like everybody goes to the right, and then we flip it over and we do the backside of the concept with everybody else. And so it's been pretty good for us now because you're still trying to identify your
Right.
players who can do what. You don't want to try to jump the gun and figure out, okay, we don't want to lock anybody in. And then you want to be able to move kids around too for matchup purposes and so forth. But yeah, I think it's a good time to figure that out. And I think too, not only do you want to identify your players,
Yeah.
but you also want to maybe identify the needs of your team. Like you guys are young this year. We're very young this year. We're returning like no starters on offense, I think. So our needs right now are technical. We have some technique things that we have to address, as well as installing a brand new offense. So it's just it's a lot going on. But yeah, man, what were you saying? Somebody was going to say something.
I've had fun with Bolton doing the half line stuff because I get to play corner. Thankfully,
Dude, my
haven't
coaches are freaking dying at
Be careful,
practice.
Dustin.
haven't rolled an ankle or popped an Achilles yet.
Be
So
Yesterday
careful.
we had
Be
the
careful.
3-man coach rotation. So like each coach would rotate in at corner. Like, and I'm not saying they're not great athletes, or I'm saying this, they were at one point probably really good athletes. And but now it's they're a little older now, so they go in there, give me a calf, and they'd rotate out, and the next guy would rotate in. It was just pretty good.
I like
Yeah,
it though because there's one receiver
Oh, yeah.
that I think we originally thought would be an outside guy, and by doing it that way, and they running both, now he's the Y position, the slot, and
Yep.
and who knows if we would have determined that whether we saw him run him or not. That's a big thing.
Do you still put on the bullet arms or the Crother?
The Ray Crother bullet arms
arms?
that are on the website right now. You can no, it's not a plug, but no, that's the me and you are on there doing the bullet arms, right? We had the
I know you
video
were. I know
with
you
the
were.
rock and roll music.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid a dime for that, by the way. Maybe we got a free set of bullet arms back in
Maybe so.
2015.
Yeah.
Good times, man. Good times.
Ray Crother, not only known for sleds, known for
Good
bullet
times.
arms.
Good times.
Bullet arms are the greatest. I didn't have them. I did have some at Cannon. I didn't have them at Kings Mountain. My forearms got beat up pretty good.
There's
on
not
the old
there's
single
not one
stick
position
release.
that can't benefit from bullet arms. Like,
Wow, what a plug, Dustin. Why don't you just go ahead and do the Ray Crother read?
Multi-purpose practice tool. We used them when we were on defense a lot, for all sorts of things, linebacker and DL. I don't know about DBs, but we used them for a lot of run fit stuff.
Visit raycrother.com to learn more.
Oh, use the promo code DMX.
Yeah, they also got DMX. A cool X-ray sled too, I hear. That's really neat.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Awesome. All right, where are we at? Okay. So you've been a part of a lot of summer systems and all that. I remember at York, didn't we were pretty much laid back when it came to like practice time at York a few times a week. I remember wouldn't we come out and it'd be like more individual for like 45 minutes with like our position group, and then maybe we'd come together and throw a little bit.
Only team practice on Wednesday.
And then only team practice. Are y'all similar to that now, or do y'all practice every day like kind of a scripted practice?
We're pretty laid back with it. I mean, we have a general idea, of what we want to do. We'll kind of do like some individual stuff, and then we'll come together and throw a little bit. The linemen are doing their thing, and then we'll do a little bit of 7-on-7. I guess it was maybe Monday or Tuesday. We were kind of doing, we did 7-on-7 like open field. And then today we kind of put the ball, when we did 7-on-7, we put it on like the 20 for a few plays, and we moved it down to the 10, and then we put it on the, like inside the 5, because, inevitably, you have to work your kind of some goal line passing and things like that, right? Because it's as the field gets shorter, right, it's harder. The windows to throw it get a lot smaller. But no, I mean, we're pretty laid back with it. We're not, we don't have like the segment timer and stuff out there or doing anything like that.
Do you prefer that? Do you prefer it that way? Do you think that's like an ideal
pretty laid
situation
back
for you guys and what you guys need, or would like is that like?
I mean, I'm kind of just my personality. I'm probably a little bit more laid back. Like I don't, and you kind of go back to, like I guess we were talking about, what's a successful 7-on-7? Well, you could also say, well, what's a successful practice too, right? Like, is a successful practice that everybody was hyped up and we all clapped on command in unison? Like, okay, yeah, maybe, right? But I more look at it, hey, did we do pat and go today and not drop any passes, right? Like, can we get through perfect drill without having any footballs on the ground? Can we get through pat and go without dropping, right? Can we defeat air today, right? Because if you struggle to defeat air, it's going to be real hard when there's actual people out there trying to cover you too. And then, I kind of look at it that way, right? Did we get better at like basic fundamental football?
No, it makes
stuff?
a lot of sense. I mean, and everybody's going to do it a little bit different. I guess we've done it both ways too. I think when I was at Cannon, we were kind of that same model. Maybe not the first year because that was COVID. So we had to throw balls into a net and then go get the balls and then stand in lines and all that mess. But second year, we definitely were more, maybe more structured, like a traditional practice would be for like the spring. And then I think year 3, we definitely were more laid back, but that was, man, we already established our culture, the expectations were already set. And so year 3, we could definitely change up things a little bit more. But yeah, I see it both ways. I mean, where we're at currently, we're all kind of new. So it's definitely an intense situation. And I think the kids are responding well too. So it's like, that's another one. Like, how do the kids respond to the practice? Like, if you're executing at a high level, keep doing what you're doing. If they're not, then maybe adjust the tempo of the practice or the schedule or whatever that may be. And I think having the ability to adapt is pretty key.
How often like are y'all, is it a lot of like individual, group, team, or like how are y'all breaking it up? Like,
Yeah,
hey, we're gonna work
it's been a
run, then go
balance.
team run, and then work pass, and like how are y'all doing it?
That's how I typically do it. Yeah. I mean, I think now it's a continuation of spring. We're still trying to figure out, personnel considerations and who's going to play what even on either side of the ball. I mean, we have a ton of rising juniors that a lot of them played JV last year. So we're still trying to figure out personnel on both sides, but we are 2 platoon, and just trying to figure out what those couple pieces are. But yeah, we're definitely more of a structured, like, we're going to get our perfect to pat and go early, and then we're going to go into some type of like team screen drill, and then we're going to go right into like ND run. I do like ND run now, so we have like mesh period with like running backs and quarterbacks. Receivers are working like MDM drills and stalk progression, and then OL's obviously doing their install stuff, and they're already doing indie even before that, but they're kind of doing that. Then we do like a run fit period. We'll do run fit right after that, put it all together, and then we probably break out to special teams, which is what coach has us do right now. Then we go right back into like routes on air, and then 7-on-7. So we kind of or maybe even like a smaller indie period during special teams. I'll try to steal some time with receivers, and maybe we need to do like perfect routes, like we're doing like end zone corner routes with the quarterbacks, and that kind of thing to kind of set up like a little bit of a passing indie, quote unquote, before we get into routes on air, and then kind of finish up with the competition 7-on-7. I like it like that for our young kids because we're still trying to balance like the technical piece, but also the scheme piece too. Like we still have to install our plays, so I don't think going out there for us right now and just doing like an individual period would lend itself to success. Like you know what I mean? There's always a balance, and that's probably year to year. With your group.
Well, it's like
I'm with you.
there's so many details in technique, but also there's so many details in our scheme. And I feel like we're trying to hit the detail oriented part of the scheme first, and then we'll have a little bit more time later on to actually work on the details of the technique. It's kind of
I think too, it gives you, and I've always kind of gone back and forth with this too. It's like, how much do you put in? Well, I'm not really wanting to put it in to be like immediately good at it. I kind of want to put enough in so I can give context to the technique. So, like, if we're running a particular route, well, I'm not just, I won't just, I'm only going to install the route and teach you just the techniques of the route. I really kind of want to install the play as well, so you understand why we're doing that particular concept. Because, these Gen Z kids are always about, the why. So if you can give any kind of context, they'll associate that a little bit better, at least in my experience. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's always difficult.
Grady, since you're,
Yes.
Right.
the special teams coordinator guru, I have a question
Well,
because
don't
Bolton
say
was just
guru.
talking about. Oh yeah, guru, man! I've seen you live action, and I've taken a lot of things you do special teams wise. My punt and kickoff return are probably pretty identical to what at least you did at York. So,
Okay.
what would you say as far as summer goes? Is there a too early to start working special teams? Is there a too late a period? What have you found most successful? Do you spend an adamant amount of time working special teams in the summer, or do you wait till camp? How do you go about that?
I mean, we actually did a little bit of it today. I mean, our kickers are always there kicking. And I think, I mean, this may not be a great answer, but I think it kind of goes back to part of the deal is you're trying to evaluate and continue to watch and evaluate the players that you have, right? And kind of continue to learn their personality. Like, okay, hey, this guy would be good in this role on this team covering this kick, right? So I think it's good to try to get a jump start on it. I mean, we did today. We did some punt stuff today. Um, you know, and we've done it the other way where we kind of take about several days in middle of July, late July, just before practice, before the dead week or the dead period, and kind of install there, right? I mean, that definitely makes it easier those first several days of practice, because I think I think anybody that really gets into teams, and I know y'all have had a couple guests on the podcast that have talked about it some. You know, I think it's one of those things where you rarely leave a game or go into a game feeling like, man, I feel good about it all, you know, because you just don't ever really know what's going to happen. Like you might be great in 4 or 5 phases of it, and then, there's one phase that, it isn't great that night, and it just kind of sours it sometimes. But it's definitely not for the faint of heart. And I think too, having coaches that are committed, to selling out and buying into however, however your staff splits up who coaches what, or coaching different guys on each team. If there's a lead voice, or if, like, Dustin, you got this team, Jamie, you got this team, however each staff does it, I think having the buy-in and the want to from your coaches definitely rubs off on the players. And so, we've done it both ways. We've installed some early. We've installed some closer to the actual start of camp. And I think it just depends on the group that year.
Sure.
I mean, I will say that we don't really do it in the spring. I mean, again, the kickers kick and the punters punt, but with spring practice and other sports going on, you're a lot of times who you have out there in the spring may or may not be who you really end up having. And so we don't really focus a ton. I mean, I wish we would at times, but I know even at York, we really didn't in the spring do really much with special teams outside of just some of those individuals doing their own deal. But
Speciality.
speciality.
Well, like
Yes.
the biggest thing
I
I
hope
think.
that answers it.
No, man, that was a great, and you know, kind of a theme that's been over our last couple episodes is there's no absolutes. There's no like right way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people, and sometimes me in particular, forget, every phase of the game involves blocking, tackling, and scoring. And the more offense and defense you do, the more of a chance you get to see who can sprint, who can tackle, okay, who can block, who can score. Because like punting is just sprinting and tackling. You know, don't let the guy score. Kickoff return is just blocking and trying to score. And it's like you kind of get an idea of who are my gunners going to be, who is my protection going to be, who are the main blockers, who's going to come across the field and kick number 1 and 2, you know, into oblivion on kickoff return. So no, that's a great answer. And
Well, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, I'm good. You go ahead.
Well, and I think
And I would add, I would add to it, you know, having a focus on the cover teams. I remember it, you know, at York, that's what Coach Carroll always was like. What we would practice seemed like, I guess, you know, we practice punt every day, kickoff just about every day, and then we did PAT, right? Because you know it's demoralizing, you know, when you score and then you miss the extra point, right? Or you know, you need the extra point and you're going to go up by a point, or, you know, you're trying to kick a field goal to win, right? There's just some things there that, you know, if you work the cover team, I think if you focus on the cover teams, you know, I mean, ultimately, like punt return, well, generally the other team, they're trying to punt the ball to you, right? So just in some regards, I know some people say, well, yeah, you know, we want to try to block every kick. True. But you also could say, well, look, like they're trying to punt it to us, right? Just put them punt it, right? You know, that's kind of, I guess, in baseball, you know, as a pitcher, right? When the batter squares around to bunt, that used to freak me out as a pitcher sometimes. You know, it's like, hey man, just throw it over the plate, right? He's trying to give you an out, you know, just field the ball and throw it to first. You know, but sometimes you kind of freak out about it. But the cover teams, I think cover teams can create a lot of momentum for you, or, you know, obviously, or could have it go the wrong way, right?
Yeah,
You could lose
I think
momentum.
that way you can start developing those
Sorry,
kids
Grady.
to be on those teams, especially if you don't want to have to use a bunch of starters. I mean, you know, I think that's something too, is identify those players. But yeah, go ahead, Grady.
I was just, I mean, whether we're installing it sooner or later, I mean, I will say, like, it's something that I rarely stop thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, it's always you're always kind of evaluating, you know, okay, maybe this guy should be here, he should be here, there, you know, or what scheme tweaks do we need to make, and, you know, things like that. So it's definitely hard to turn off.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. All right, man. Y'all ready for the old rapid fire segment?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Dustin, go for it.
All right, I'm gonna go with one that I
Sounds
just kind
good.
of came off the top of my head, and I, you know, I want to know y'all's opinion. All right, film or field install. What do you think is more beneficial? You know, just going straight out to the field and installing it, walking them through, and actually having them hands on doing it, or having them see it maybe on video, on paper, on the board first before you go.
Oh,
I think the field.
I would say field too. If you had to pick one, getting them up trying to do it, and then once they do that, I think can be easier to go back and show them, okay, this is kind of what it looks like. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, I think.
I rarely show our film of it early.
Yeah,
Like, even if, because unless it's just, hey, this is wrong. I really just like to show like all the good cut ups of that particular play. Like, go install it, come back in, and then watch like the good. And then once they start executing, I'll start showing them their stuff. But yeah, I like that. I really wouldn't think about it like that, but that's kind of how we've done it. To be honest, like we typically don't do film first.
I think I think you do the field first, because you want to get film of them doing it as soon as you can, so that then you can coach coach them off of their own film, because it always means more, when they actually see themselves as opposed to someone else doing it, right? Because, I know for me as a player, right, like you think, oh, I'm supposed to step with my right foot. Well, I thought I stepped with my right foot, but, the film showed that I actually did not, right? So, it's hard to dispute that, right? What's the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So I think that's important. Get them on
hearing
film as quick
y'all's
as you
point
can.
of view, because I'm complete opposite. I like installing the play, so like just the drawing the diagram, showing a visual video clip of what it should look like, then having them do it, record them, and then go back and compare them versus the clip, because it's just how my brain works. Like if I can, like when I'm putting an IKEA bed frame together at home, I'm gonna watch the YouTube video first. Then I'm gonna go back and hold the instructions, and I'm gonna
You're a
put
Gen
it
Z
together.
kid, though, right? Like
No, man,
you're pretty much like a
we go
Gen Z
over this all
baby.
the time. I'm the last year of millennial, I think.
That's
You a
funny.
millennial, Dustin?
95. I was born in
Okay.
95, so I'm either
95,
last year
wow.
or 96 might have been the last year.
That seems like you're trying to get out of it.
No, man, I enjoy being a millennial, man.
Damn, y'all.
Man, I remember dial-up, AOL, and no internet. I've been there from the
Dustin, no,
beginning.
you don't.
Yes,
man.
I do, man.
Don't get
Couldn't
all,
answer the
don't-
phone or the internet would stop
You're
working.
not MySpace guys like we are. Okay.
MySpace. My friends are online right now. Why am I not your top
Sick.
4? Yeah, dude, that was me.
All right,
Were
so
you an AOL Instant Messenger guy?
Yes, sir, I was. After middle school, hop on AIM and let's see who's on.
see who's on. All right, so next one. I think I know this one, but I'll see what y'all's take is. Who's the more emotional on game day, or in general?
I mean, if you're referring
I would
to
say
emotional
definitely.
as passionate, I guess that would be me.
You're more passionate than Knox.
I'm more, yeah.
Knox, how do you take that?
I just want to win, y'all.
I just want
to
Hey
win,
man, can we get a first down?
Can we get a first
Can we get a first down?
Well, I just want to win too, y'all. But if you're talking about like explosive, volatile passion, then yes, that would definitely be Grady.
I'm a little
bit
you
more
out on this one. I've seen video
See,
footage.
I'm a little bit.
Bowling Springs video
Oh,
footage.
really? Oh, man.
2013. I wasn't even on the staff,
What a night!
but I saw your reaction to the late second kickoff
What
or
a night.
field goal.
Yeah,
That
I remember.
put
Yeah,
in my mind, man.
That
Knox has got
was
it.
Buddy
definitely. Well,
Buddy Anderson with the walk off.
I did grow up. There was a time in my life where I was highly influenced by what do you call it, late 90s, early 2000s WWE. One of the more popular groups, the Attitude Era, one of the more popular groups I was probably, I guess, fan of.
Was that you did,
but no, that's
right.
I think it was Triple H's signature move.
Triple H on the 50-yard line,
I believe. But yeah. So I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if that video is still circulating or not. Hopefully not. But, okay.
That's awesome.
Yes. What a night. There's not. Hey man, you know what? You got to be excited when you winning's hard, y'all.
Hey, remember when
winning's hard? You got to be excited sometimes.
Oh yeah,
we've certainly been on the other side of that.
When Tanner threw that touchdown at NAFO, and to Day on like 4th and 8. Yeah, I can't make that throw. And then our backup quarterback comes in and rips one, dude. Like
90% of the team is in the end zone.
It's 18 seconds left. I'm in the end zone celebrating, and I immediately back in my head, I'm gonna get fired. And then so like I sneak off to the track, like adjacent right to and then I walk all the way back, and I'm yelling at kids, "Get off the field! Get off the field!" Like I was like not in there like chest bumping 16-year-old kids, Like,
my favorite things with emotions are headset moments. And there's 2 headset moments I'll never forget at York in 2017. Brady or Grady, there was like a really bad call by the ref or something. And I mean, you were just giving them hell. And Knox says, "Hey, Grady, shut up." And he said, "I'm trying to make a play call. Shut up." And
Sorry,
it wasn't even disrespect. It was just so funny because like it was a terrible call. It was the worst call in the world. And you can just hear Grady. I don't think Grady realized his mic was down. And like he's just giving that ref crap. And I'll never forget that. And then in 2018, I was the box coach for Bolton. And like I'm upset about some emotion. He said, "Dude, I think you're the most emotional box coach I've ever coached with." Like, cause like, he's like, "Man, like you're just so emotional up there." And I was like, and at that point in time, I was like, "Yeah, box coach probably shouldn't talk
Yeah,
as
you're
much as
like
I do."
22 years old or something.
everybody can hear you up there.
Yeah, several away games I had dirty looks on the box.
That's awesome.
You didn't leave the press box dirty, though,
Didn't leave
did
it
you?
dirty,
Like
but I
chicken
definitely
wings and
contributed
pizza
to
plates
eating
and stuff
whatever
like
was in the
that?
press box.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
I think one night, yeah.
We get a first down,
Y'all.
man.
Hey, guys. Can we get a first down, y'all? Hey, man, we're trying, man.
Hey, my favorite part, my
We're trying.
favorite
We're
thing to
trying.
watch Bobby is
We're
every time
trying.
we'd call buck sweep in 2017. He'd be like, they get out there and they ain't blocking nobody. That dude, I'll never forget.
Man, good times, man.
All right, who would y'all say out of y'all
Just get in
two
the
is
way.
like most organized?
I would say Grady. Grady's a lot more. He's a lot more detailed oriented, and I think he was like in high school. He was a better wrestler because he actually paid attention to the finer details of how to do the setups and all the the moves and things. And I'm more big picture, kind of more of a like macro view of things, and he's a lot more detailed
I would
with
agree.
stuff than I am.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that between you guys. But yeah, you balance each other out really well. So it's like good marriage right there between you guys.
Yeah. But I would also say, going back to the previous question, he's a bit more. He kind of
I've seen
goes
it.
0
Oh,
to
yeah.
60 real quick. He can get fired up, right? I'm a little bit more. I hold mine in. I hold it in, and then I have an outburst later.
I've heard
Right? He just gets it out like
ones are
right
like
now.
on the sideline where
So
he'll have his moment, and you're like, Grady, hey man, you're like, listen, just calm down. He's like, sorry guys.
What happened? I blanked.
Back again. Blacked out for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I
went
sorry,
dizzy.
all right, I got one. You don't have to give me all the goods, but what's the most underrated offensive concept right now? You can choose whichever one you want.
I'm gonna say hitch. Right? How many times? I mean, I know we have, right? And how many times do you turn on the video on Saturday morning or Friday night and say, man, even on a play like stick, man, he could have thrown the back, he could have thrown the hitch, he could have taken the gift, right? He could have thrown it here, could have thrown it there. And, I think it's one of those things that it's open more than it's not open, right? And I think it's easy to forget about it. And we've definitely been there.
Take what's easy.
Yeah,
I would
and
agree
in
because
addition to that, go ahead,
yeah,
Knox.
I'd agree because Grady reminds me of that all the time. We try to make stuff like say, you go to all the clinics and stuff, and look at this concept, look at that one, and sometimes the best stuff is just, hey man, tell this guy to run out there and turn around at 5 yards. Just take the easy stuff that you're just trying to get 10 at a time anyway, right? 10 in 3 plays. So a 5-yard pass, we shouldn't discount that as like, wow, that's not worth our time.
Yeah.
So I'd agree. I'd
And
agree with what Grady said.
That might be a bailout answer, but
No, I agree, because like one thing I'm thinking as y'all are talking about that, like how many times have we gotten a 2x2 H-back set? They got 7 in the box playing 1 high, and the boundary corner's playing 8 to 9 yards off. It's like we don't take advantage of it enough. Let's make him walk up. Like let's like keep throwing it out there, and then if he presses, if you got a guy who can make him pay, it's like I think and Caleb, my buddy who was the OC the last 2 years at Cannon, he really challenged me in that. He said, I want to get better. I don't want to have to tag the hitch. I want to be able to call a run play on P and 10. And if we have more than 7 yards of cushion by the corner, we're throwing it out there. Like, we're not even thinking about it. Like, we're not telling anybody, catch it and throw it. And that's something I want to get better at.
well, and I think too, it's sometimes it's easy. And Dustin, I know as a defensive guy, you probably don't do this, but I think sometimes we've all been guilty of just assuming the tackle. Right? I mean, even when you spit it out there, he still has to be tackled.
Yes.
And, we've seen where that happens and where it doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's definitely been an emphasis on like the explosive plays and always trying to generate like explosive offense. And I think, yeah, we do kind of get away from that. I mean, there's been plenty of times like I just should have kept running fast screen over and over. So when you say hitch, it's like I'll just call like fast screen. This is kind of the same thing. You get a blocker, you're gonna be one-on-one with somebody. I mean, it's probably a really underrated one that you can kind of go back, and it's good against a lot of stuff too. And that's the thing with like even against press, at least, or like cloud look, at least, you can still get a fast screen out there. But yeah, man, I get it. Well, guys, we appreciate it. Kind of running out of time. I know we had some off air conversations that I can't wait to talk about
Dive in more
with you guys. But we appreciate your time being on here. We're definitely going to get with you guys on a little mini clinic. But thank you guys for being on here.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having us, guys. It was really enjoyed it. And really, really enjoy listening in to what you guys are doing with it. And I know that y'all are in it for the right reasons, and really enjoy listening and enjoy our relationship as well. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.